And we have some breaking news from the NFL where the Chicago Bears linebacker Roquan Smith is heading to the Baltimore Ravens. That's been confirmed by our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. Now, things between Smith and the Bears soured over the summer when they were unable to come to terms on a contract extension. Now, Smith wound up requesting a trade in August before eventually reporting to camp. Now he's on his way to Baltimore, reportedly in exchange for second and fifth round picks for 2023. Now, for the Bears, it's their second trade in the past week after sending Robert Quinn to the Eagles on Wednesday. And here to talk about this breaking news, we do want to bring in our Pete Prisco. So, Pete, before we get into everything, just give us your initial reactions to this trade.
Well, it's a smart move by the Bears. They didn't want to sign him to a long-term extension, so why not get some assets back for him? And you get a nice price back for him. I mean, he's a little overrated, to be honest with you. I know people in this league think he's, piles up a bunch of tackles, but I don't think he's as good as those numbers would portray him. So it makes sense. You don't want to pay this guy a long-term contract, so what you do is you get rid of him. And when you get rid of him, when you get up assets, and when you get assets, it makes your team better for the future. So I like the move for the Bears. From a Ravens standpoint, it makes sense because they drafted Patrick Queen to be a linebacker they thought they could build around, and he hasn't worked out. Josh Bynes is banged up. They played A.J. Klein, who they picked up off the scrap heap the other day. And so I think when you look at this team, they needed to make a move, and they got a young linebacker, so we'll see.
All right, so Pete, we mentioned it a little bit earlier. It comes less than a week after they're sending Robert Quinn over to Philly. What does it tell you about the Bears trading some of their best defensive players?
Well, I think this Bears team is looking to the future. I mean, they have a first-time general manager, a young general manager. He's trying to build this team on his own, and it makes sense to try and get assets. And, the more draft picks you have, the better chance you have to build your roster and become a team that can build around Justin Fields. Right now, they're not ready to compete. They did win that game at New England, which gives some of the young players something to build upon. But if you look at that team, they're playing a lot of really young players. Not to say Roquan Smith is an older player. It's just that Roquan Smith is going to cost you a bunch of money. And when you try to build something, you don't want to put all that money in one player who, quite frankly, is a good player and not a great player, and he's going to want great player money.
And, Pete, how much better are the Ravens with this move?
Well, we'll see. I mean, they're a defensive team. That's who they are. They want to build around their defense and Lamar Jackson, in that offense a little bit. But in their history, when they've gone to Super Bowls, they've been very good on defense. This is not a good defense right now. You get more athletic. He brings the ability to run the football, which they need. And in recent weeks, they have started to play better defense on the down guys, particularly. The rushers have been better. Calais Campbell, before he got dinged up last week, has been better. So they're playing better football in front of that position. I think they make the move to look at it and say, hey, we have to get more athletic. We have to get a better tackler in there. And I think that's why they went and made the move. Again, I don't think he's as good as his numbers. He's a good, solid player. He's not a great player.
And, Pete, looking ahead, do you see the Ravens making any other trades moving forward?
I think they'll sniff around the wide receiver market a little bit. Now they traded Hollywood Brown, but you look back and they say, okay, Bateman's there, Duvernay's done some things, but why not maybe add another guy? I know they added Deshaun Jackson, but we'll see what he can do. If I were them, I would also look in the back end a little bit, maybe for a corner, if you need some corner help, if somebody becomes available. But other than that, I think when you look at this Ravens team, they just have to play better in certain areas. They've had a lot of busted coverages in the secondary. They haven't thrown the ball as well, although Lamar Jackson was better the other day. But one thing they can do, they can run it, and when you can run it the way they run it, you can dictate tempo, and I think that helps them, particularly if you get better on defense.
All right, and that is our Pete Prisco breaking down that breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ, where the Bears have traded Roquan Smith to the Ravens. Quickly taking a look at the NFC North standings with the odds to win the division. The Bears are at plus 5,000. The favorites there are the Vikings at minus 1,100. They are 6-1 so far on the season.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.